Tonight we're going to drift back in time, to a world of silk lanterns and salt spray, of hidden codes and empires on the brink. We're telling a story that has been almost completely erased, a paradox of history that feels more like myth. With 1-800 ships and 80,000 men, she brought the Chinese, Portuguese and British empires to their knees. Her name is a whisper, a footnote, if she is mentioned at all. The truth is, her story is one of the most incredible tales of command and conquest ever told. So, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights. Perhaps let a fan create that soft, lulling hum. Let's ease into tonight's journey together, onto the shimmering waters of the Pearl River. The world for you is a cradle of lacquered wood and worn silk, perpetually rocking on the murky, tide-pulled waters of the river. Your home has no foundation, no roots in the earth. It is one of the hundreds of vessels that make up Canton's floating city of pleasure, the flower boats. By day, it is a sleepy, almost listless place. The humid air, thick with the smell of river mud, cooking oil and damp wood, hangs heavy under the sun. But as dusk bleeds purple and orange across the sky, your world awakens. One by one, silk lanterns are lit, their soft, warm glow painting shimmering paths on the dark water. They cast long, dancing reflections that break and reform with every gentle swell, a beautiful illusion of solid ground that is never truly there. You feel the familiar vibration through the floorboards as a client's sampan bumps gently against the hull. The sound is a dull thud, as common and unremarkable to you as a clock chiming the hour is to a landsman. You sit before a polished bronze mirror, its surface slightly warped, showing you a reflection that is almost, but not quite, true. You adjust a pin in your dark, coiled hair, the smooth, cool ivory a familiar weight in your fingers. The scent of jasmine oil is faint, a ghost in the air. Around you, the sounds of the evening begin their chorus, the high, plaintive notes of a peeper from a neighbouring boat, the low murmur of men's voices haggling over prices, the soft laughter of the other women, a sound that is both genuine and practiced. This is your life, a carefully orchestrated performance on a floating stage. You are known here as Shi Yang, and you are an artist of observation. You've learned that power in this world is not about strength, but about understanding. You watch the wealthy salt merchants, their robes heavy with embroidery, and see the flicker of insecurity in their eyes. You listen to the boastful tales of the foreign traders, the red-haired ghosts with their loud voices and strange clothes. And you learn the shapes of their desires and their fears. They see a beautiful, compliant woman, a decorative object. They do not see the mind behind your eyes, a mind that is constantly cataloguing, learning, and calculating. It's a quiet sort of rebellion, this secret education. A little smile plays on your lips as you recall a pompous official from last week, so proud of his new position, yet so easily flustered by a cleverly worded compliment. He thought he was in control, but you guided the entire conversation. A ship's rudder he never even saw. You are Tanka, the people of the water. For centuries, your ancestors have been denied the right to own land, to sit for the imperial exams, to marry into the communities on the shore. You are a people apart, born on the water, living on the water, and dying on the water. This sense of separation is as much a part of you as the calluses on your feet from gripping the damp deck. It creates a fierce, unspoken loyalty among the boat dwellers, but also a deep and gnawing hunger for something more. A world beyond the riverbanks, A custom exists on these boats, a language of music that the patrons believe is purely for their entertainment. When a woman plays a joyful, fast-paced tune, it is an invitation. When she plays a slow, melancholic melody, it can be a sign of respect for a thoughtful client or a subtle, coded message to the boat's owner. But for you, there is a third kind of music. In the dead of night, when the last patrons have gone and the lanterns are extinguished one by one, you sometimes take up the peeper yourself. You don't play for anyone. You play for the river. The notes you pluck are not for seduction or performance. They are questioning, uncertain, like a bird testing its wings. It's a language no one else understands. A conversation with the vast, dark water that flows relentlessly out to the sea. One can only imagine the questions you are asking the tide. You rise from your seat and slide open the carved wooden screen of your small room. The night air is a little cooler now. You step out onto the narrow walkway that circles the boat. The main deck is quiet, save for the gentle creak and groan of the mooring ropes. You lean against the railing, the wood smooth and cool beneath your hands. You look past the bobbing sea of lanterns, past the forest of masts belonging to the merchant ships at anchor in the harbour. You look towards the mouth of the river, where the water grows darker and the lights of the city fade away. Out there is the great emptiness, the South China Sea. To the men who come here, it is a place of commerce, of dangerous voyages that promise great wealth. To you, it is a place of freedom, an impossible, terrifying, beautiful idea. What is a cage, you wonder? Is it these wooden walls, this small, floating world, with its intricate rules and suffocating expectations? Or is a cage a state of mind? You have seen men who owned half the city, yet they were trapped in their own ambition, their own pride. Here on this boat, you own nothing. Not the silk dress you wear, not the room you sleep in, not even in theory, your own time, but your thoughts are yours. Your ambition, a tiny resilient seed, is yours alone. It is a secret you guard more fiercely than any jewel. It's not exactly a modern-day business plan, but the sharp, analytical way you watch the flow of money and influence on this river is an education no formal school could provide. You notice a change in the rhythm of the water. A new set of ripples, larger and more powerful than those from a passing sampan, slaps against the side of your boat. You look out into the darkness and see a shape detaching itself from the deeper shadows of the harbour. It is a junk, but it is unlike the heavy, broad-beamed merchant vessels. This one is longer, sleeker, and it sits lower in the water, built for speed, not for cargo. It flies no merchant guild flag, no imperial banner. Instead, a simple dark red flag hangs from its main mast, limp in the still night air. It moves with a silent, predatory grace, its crew working with an unnerving quiet. The other boats seem to give it a wide berth, a silent, respectful clearing of the way. A little shiver, not of cold, but of something else, anticipation perhaps, runs down your spine. This is something new. This is not the familiar cadence of commerce or pleasure that defines your world. This is the rhythm of power, raw and unadorned, and it is heading directly for your floating home. The night is no longer simply winding down. It feels as though it is holding its breath. The dark junk glides alongside your flower boat with a precision that speaks of immense skill. There is no shouted order, no clumsy collision. It simply arrives, a shadow latching onto your small, bright world. Ropes are thrown and secured with quiet efficiency. The gentle, rhythmic lapping of the river against your hull is now overshadowed by the immense presence of this new vessel. You can smell it now, a scent entirely alien to your perfumed existence. It is the smell of the deep ocean. Salt, brine, tar for waterproofing the hull, and the faint metallic tang of cleaned weaponry. It is the smell of a world that does not seek to please, but to dominate. Men swing across the gap, their movements fluid and certain. They are not the swaggering, drunken sailors you are used to seeing. They are disciplined, their eyes constantly scanning, their hands never far from the hilts of the blades tucked into their sashes. There is no looting, no chaos. They secure the boat and then stand aside, forming a path. Then, a man steps across. He is not the largest among them, nor the most adorned, but the air around him shifts. Silence follows him like a cloak. This, you know without being told, is their leader. He is Ching Shih, commander of the Red Flag Fleet. His face is weathered by sun and sea, lined with the maps of 1,000 voyages and 100 battles. He wears dark, practical silks, stained by salt, but of an undeniable quality. Unlike the merchants who drip with jade and gold to announce their wealth, his status is something he carries within him. It is in the unnerving stillness of his gaze, a gaze that seems to take in everything at once without effort. The owner of your boat, a woman who commands with an iron fist in this small domain, bows so low her forehead nearly touches the deck. It's a moment of delicious irony. The queen of this tiny pond is nothing to the dragon from the sea. Ching Shih's eyes scan the deck, passing over the other women, the expensive furniture, the lanterns casting their gentle glow. He is not interested in the trappings. His gaze finds you, standing by the rail, and it stops. There is no leer, no flicker of the base desire you are so accustomed to seeing and deflecting. It is a look of assessment, of appraisal, as if he is weighing a soul. He speaks a single name, your name, Shi Yang. His voice is not loud, but it cuts through the humid night air, a low timbre that seems to vibrate in your very bones. He does not request your company for the evening. He requests you. The boat owner, scrambling to her feet, begins a torrent of assurances about your skills, your beauty, your talents with the peeper. Ching Shih raises a single hand and the words die in her throat. He is not here to buy a service. He is here for a transaction of a much higher order. You are led to the main cabin, the place reserved for the most important patrons. He follows you in and dismisses the trembling owner with a nod. The door slides shut, and you are alone. The cabin, usually a place of practiced charm and subtle power plays, suddenly feels small, the air thick with a tension you have never experienced before. The familiar objects, the low table, the silk cushions, the painted screen, seem alien in his presence. He moves to the window, looking not at you, but out at the river. I have heard stories about the woman on this boat. He begins, his voice still quiet, contemplative. They say she is beautiful, which is common. They say she is clever, which is less common. They say she has a mind for numbers and a gift for seeing the patterns in men's ambitions. This is very rare. He turns to face you now, and his eyes hold yours. I command a fleet of over 400 ships, a confederation of rivals. It is a floating nation with its own economy, its own alliances, and its own enemies. It requires more than a strong sword arm to rule. It requires a sharp mind. You stand your ground, your heart hammering against your ribs, but you do not let it show. This is the most dangerous negotiation of your life, and the skills you have honed here are your only weapons. You meet his gaze and wait. I am not here to offer you a new protector or a life of greater luxury in the same cage, he says, as if reading your deepest thoughts. The memory of you, looking out at the sea from the railing, flashes in your mind. I am offering you a position. My wife, yes, but more than that, my partner. The woman who sits at my side, not at my feet. The woman who manages the logistics, the finances, the intricate web of allegiances and rivalries. The woman who helps me rule the South China Sea. The audacity of it leaves you breathless. He is not asking for a courtesan. He is headhunting a CEO. He is offering you a seat on the board of a pirate empire. The seed of ambition you have so carefully nurtured in secret has just been offered a vast and fertile field in which to grow. But you know that nothing is ever given freely. Your mind races, calculating the angles. To accept is to step into a world of unimaginable violence and danger. To refuse is to remain here, on this boat, until your beauty fades and you are forgotten. You find your voice. What are your terms, you ask? Your tone as even and measured as his. A slow smile spreads across his face. It is a smile of genuine respect, and it changes his entire countenance. He has seen your spirit. My terms are simple. You will have my name, my protection, and my complete trust. You will have command over the consolidation and management of all plunder. You will have a voice in the Council of Captains. You will be my equal partner in all things, save for command in the heat of battle. He pauses, letting the words sink in. In return, I will have your loyalty and your mind. This is no mere marriage proposal. This is a contract, an alliance, and you, the woman who owns nothing, are in a position to negotiate. And what of the fleet's treasury, you ask, your voice bold. If I am to manage it, then I must have a share in it, a controlling share, held in my name, to be used for the good of the fleet as I see fit. His smile widens. He nods once. Done. It is a breathtaking gamble on both your parts. He is trusting a woman from a flower boat with the keys to his kingdom. You are trusting a pirate lord with your very life. You stand there for a long moment, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows on the walls. You think of the endless, repetitive nights, the feigned smiles, the cloying scent of jasmine. You think of the dark water flowing out to the vast, open sea. How does one measure the value of a future that has not yet been written against the certainty of a gilded cage? I accept, you say. The words feel momentous, a line drawn between your past and your future. There is no ceremony, no exchange of rings. There is only a nod of mutual understanding, an agreement between two powers. Ching Shih slides open the door, and his men, who have been waiting in perfect silence, look to him. He gives a simple order, and two of them enter the cabin. They go not to you, but to the boat owner's strongbox. They open it, and Ching Shih gestures for them to pay the woman a bride price so extravagant, so impossibly large, that she can only stare, her mouth agape. He is not stealing you. He is purchasing your contract, your freedom, with a flourish that makes it clear he could have simply taken it. He is a man who understands the power of symbols. You walk out of the cabin and across the deck. You do not carry a single possession with you. Everything you were is being left behind. You approach the simple wooden plank that now connects your past to your future. You place a foot on it, the rough wood unfamiliar after the polished deck of the flower boat. You take a step, then another. You do not look back. The sounds of the river, the music, the laughter begin to fade. Ahead of you, the sounds of the pirate junk grow louder. The creak of the rigging, the low murmur of the crew, the snap of that dark red flag in a rising breeze. You have stepped out of the river and onto the ocean. The air already tastes different. It tastes of salt and iron and a terrifying, exhilarating freedom. The sun rises on a world transformed. Yesterday, your horizon was the crowded riverbank of Canton. Today, it is an endless expanse of wood, sail, and shimmering water. You stand on the high stern castle of the flagship, the morning breeze cool on your face, and you gaze upon the red flag fleet at anchor. It is not a fleet. It is a city. Hundreds upon hundreds of vessels, from massive war junks bristling with cannons to smaller, nimble supply boats and family sampans, cluster together in a sprawling, floating metropolis. The air hums with 1,000 sounds, the creak of rigging, the hammering of a ship's carpenter, the shouting of men, the crying of children, the clatter of cooking pots. It is a symphony of chaotic, vibrant life, a far cry from the muted, deliberate elegance of the flower boat. You are no longer Shi Yang. That name, and the woman who answered to it, was left on the riverbank. Here, they call you Zheng Yi Sao, the wife of Zheng Yi. The name is both a protection and a challenge. It grants you status, but it is a borrowed power. You know, with a certainty that settles deep in your bones, that borrowed power is fleeting. It must be forged into something of your own. Your life as a courtesan taught you that much. Men's loyalties are tides. They ebb and flow. But respect, once earned, can be an anchor. Zheng Yi leads you not to a lavish cabin decorated with silks, but to a sparse, functional room dominated by a large teak table. The air smells of ink, oiled wood, and sea salt. Instead of ornamental screens, the walls are hung with nautical charts, their surfaces covered in notations and lines drawn in charcoal. In one corner, a rack holds not lutes or pipes, but a collection of sharpened swords and a Portuguese musket gleaming with fresh oil. This is your new schoolroom and your new office. He unrolls a massive scroll across the table. It is a roster of the entire fleet, hundreds of names, dozens of captains, a complex hierarchy of loyalties and old grudges. Learn this, he says, his voice simple and direct. This is our world. Know who is ambitious, who is loyal, who is a fool, and who is a snake. Your education is swift and relentless. You spend your days poring over these documents, your mind absorbing the intricate structure of the Pirate Confederation. You learn that it is made of 6 fleets, each with its own colour of flag: red, black, blue, white, yellow, and green. You learn that while Zheng Yi is the acknowledged leader of the Red Flag and the Confederation's admiral, his power depends on a fragile balance, a constant negotiation with the other fleet commanders. It reminds you of the delicate peace between the owners of the most powerful flower boats, a society that also appeared monolithic from the outside, but was a web of rivalries within. A faint smile touches your lips. It seems the fundamentals of power are the same everywhere, whether the currency is silver or secrets. You do not confine yourself to the cabin. You walk the decks of the flagship, your silk slippers surprisingly sure-footed on the wooden planks. The sailors at first are wary of you, this beautiful, silent woman who is now their commander's wife. They fall silent as you pass, their eyes following you. You do not try to win them over with smiles or false familiarity. Instead, you watch and you listen. You learn the language of the ship itself, the groan of the masts under strain, the sharp snap of a sail catching the wind, the different calls of the watchman that signal everything from a change in the weather to an approaching vessel. One afternoon, you stand beside Zheng Yi as he communicates with a distant squadron. There is no messenger boat, no shouting across the water. Instead, a sailor hoists a series of coloured flags up the mainmast in a precise sequence. A moment later, the distant ships respond with their own silent, fluttering conversation. It's a language of pure information, stripped of emotion or deception. A red pennant over a square blue flag means enemy sighted to the northeast. A black flag hoisted and then quickly lowered twice means proceed with the plan. It's a code, a secret dialect of the sea. Not unlike the subtle language of a fan you once had to master, where a flick of the wrist could mean follow me, and a slow flutter meant I am displeased. This new language, however, speaks of cannons and kings, not stolen glances. Your first real test comes in the form of the fleet's accounting. Ching Shih presents you with a collection of bamboo scrolls and mismatched ledgers. It is the record of all the plunder from the last 3 months. It is a chaotic, almost indecipherable mess. For days, you barely sleep. You work by the light of a fish oil lamp. Your nimble fingers, once used to pouring tea or plucking the strings of a peeper, now flick across the beads of an abacus. You apply a relentless logic to the chaos, cross-referencing cargo manifests with captain's reports, tide charts with the claim dates of capture. Slowly, a pattern emerges, a story hidden in the numbers. One of the senior captains, a man named Guo, consistently reports smaller shares of plunder than the other ships in his squadron, yet his personal wealth seems to be growing. His reports are sloppy, his numbers vague. To everyone else, it's just the messiness of life at sea. To you, it is a clear and deliberate deception. You have found the snake Ching Shih warned you about. You create a new, simplified ledger system on clean rolls of paper. You use columns, clear notations, a system of checks and balances. When you are done, you present both the old mess and your new, orderly system to Ching Shih. You calmly walk him through your findings, pointing to the discrepancies, the impossible timelines, the missing cargo. You don't offer an opinion. You simply present the facts. He listens in silence, his expression unreadable. When you finish, he runs a hand over your perfectly ordered ledger. He then looks at you, and for the first time, you see something beyond appraisal in his eyes. You see profound respect. You have a mind like a fine steel trap, he says, his voice low with admiration. That afternoon, Captain Guo is summoned. He does not return. The next day, your new accounting system is declared to be the law of the Red Flag Fleet. Your role begins to shift. You are no longer just an observer. Captains, burly men with scarred faces and decades of experience at sea, begin to seek you out. Not for orders, but for arbitration. 2 crews dispute the division of a captured cargo of silk. They bring their case to you. You listen to both sides, consult the records, and deliver a judgment that is so logical and fair that neither side can dispute it. Your cabin becomes a courthouse, a bank, a center of administration for this entire floating nation. As you look out from your deck at the hundreds of cooking fires that dot the dusk, like a city of captured stars scattered on the sea, you realize the truth of this place. It was a kingdom of wood and water, held together by greed, loyalty, and the shared understanding that the shore was no longer home. The final piece of your transformation clicks into place during a planning session for a major raid on a coastal town. Ching Shih and his commanders are gathered around the large table in your cabin, debating tactics. They speak of winds, tides, and cannon placements. Ching Shih, about to approve a plan of direct assault, pauses. He turns to you, where you sit quietly in the corner, listening. Ching Shih Sao, he says, and the entire room falls silent. You have been quiet. What do you see? You rise and walk to the table. You point to the chart. The assault is sound. you say, your voice clear and steady. But you have only planned for the battle, not for the profit. The town's wealthiest merchants will flee at the first sign of your sails. They will take their silver with them. But their warehouses, you tap a location just outside the main town, are poorly guarded. The real treasure is not in the homes, it is here, and you are planning to let it slip away. You then outline a strategy, a small, fast squadron to block the escape route by land, while the main fleet attacks from the sea. A plan to capture not just the town, but its wealth. The captains stare at you, then at Ching Shih. He looks at the chart, then back at you. A slow, genuine smile spreads across his face. He nods to his commanders. You heard her. Change the plan. In that moment, the contract you made on the flower boat is truly sealed. You are not just the commander's wife. You are a commander in your own right. You have learned the tides of power, and you are now ready to direct them. The years that follow your arrival are a blur of salt and silver, of monsoon winds, and the heady scent of success. Your partnership with Ching Shih solidifies into a seamless union of mind and might. He is the sword, the charismatic face of the fleet, the one who leads the men in daring raids. You are the strategist, the mind, the one who ensures the sword is sharp, the ships are supplied, and the treasury is full. Together, you transform the Red Flag fleet from a formidable pirate force into a coastal dynasty. You levy taxes on shipping, you control trade routes, you establish a floating government so efficient and so powerful that the Qing Emperor's officials can only watch from the shore in impotent fury. Life finds a rhythm, a predictable pattern of raids and rest, of danger and prosperity. You have built a stable world on the most unstable of foundations, the open sea. It is a time of quiet confidence, a long, peaceful breath before the coming storm. And then the storm comes. Not a metaphorical one, but a real, howling monster of a typhoon, born in the depths of the South China Sea. It gives you no warning. One moment, the sky is a placid blue. The next, it is a bruised and churning cauldron of grey and black. The wind shrieks through the rigging, a sound like a hungry god. Rain comes not in drops but in blinding horizontal sheets, lashing your face and soaking you to the bone in an instant. The sea, your home, your kingdom, turns on you. It rises up in mountainous waves that toss the mighty war junks like children's toys. You are in your cabin, trying to secure the precious charts and ledgers, the paper records of your entire empire. The ship groans around you, the timbers screaming under the immense pressure. The world becomes a terrifying chaos of motion and sound. The roar of the wind and the crashing of the waves is a physical force, pressing in on you, shaking the very air you breathe. For hours, there is nothing but the darkness, the violence, and the visceral, primal fear of a world being torn apart. You, who have commanded thousands, can only hold on and pray that the shipwrights who built this vessel did their work well. Just as suddenly as it began, it ends. The wind dies down to an exhausted sigh. The waves recede, leaving behind a heaving, slate-grey swell. An eerie, profound silence descends, broken only by the drip of water and the distant crack of a splintered mast. In the strange, silent world that follows a storm, who could say what was wreckage and what was opportunity? You emerge onto the deck, and your heart sinks. The fleet is scattered, battered. Masts are snapped, sails are shredded, and smaller boats have vanished entirely. But the real devastation is not in the wood and canvas. Men are shouting, calling out names, and one name is not answered. Ching Shih is gone. In the height of the storm, As he directed the men to secure the main mast, a loose spar swung down, and he was swept into the churning sea. Your partner, your shield, the man who saw your potential and gave you an ocean to command, has been reclaimed by it. The news spreads through the fleet like a cold poison. The grief is real, a sharp physical ache in your chest. But beneath it, a colder, harder feeling takes root. Calculation. You know that the Confederation, this delicate balance of ambition and loyalty, was held together by his force of personality. Without him, you are just a widow. A clever woman, yes, but one with no legitimate claim to command in this world of men and steel. The power vacuum is immediate and terrifying. You can feel it in the air. The captains of the Red Flag Fleet look at you with pity, but also with speculation. The commanders of the other coloured fleets, your rivals, will hear the news soon. They will see this as their chance to break the Confederation, to absorb your ships, to erase the empire you helped build. You have perhaps a day, maybe two, before the whispers turn to mutiny and the fragile kingdom collapses. You retreat to your cabin. Your mind, trained to see patterns in chaos, begins to work. You do not think of your grief. There is no time for that. You think of power. You assess your assets, your rivals, your options. Your greatest asset is the system you built. The logistics, the treasury, the fair and orderly distribution of plunder. The entire fleet depends on it. But that is passive control. You need active power. You need a sword. Your eyes fall upon the name on the roster that matters most now. Cheng Po Tsai. Cheng Po is young, handsome, and adored by the fighting men. He is the fleet's greatest warrior, reckless but brilliant. Zheng Yi captured him as a boy, a young fisherman, but saw in him a spark of greatness. He adopted him, making him his legal son and heir, his second in command. This custom of strategic adoption was common, a way to forge loyalty and ensure succession beyond bloodlines. It was a political tool, as practical as a cannon, and Zheng Yi had used it perfectly. Cheng Po has a legitimate claim to leadership through this adoption. He has the loyalty of the crews. But he is impulsive. He has no patience for charts and ledgers, no head for the complex politics of the Confederation. He is a warrior, not a king. Alone, he would lead the fleet into a glorious, bloody, and ultimately self-destructive civil war. Alone, you would be deposed within a week. But together, you summon him, not to the formal command cabin, but to a small, private room, still damp from the storm. He arrives, his face a mask of grief and uncertainty. He knows, as you do, that a decision must be made. He looks at you, perhaps expecting a grieving widow seeking his protection. He is not prepared for the commander who meets his gaze. You do not offer condolences. You offer a contract, just as Zheng Yi once did for you. The fleet is headless, you say, your voice calm and steady. The other commanders are sharks smelling blood in the water. They will tear us apart to get at the prize. The captains here are loyal, but they are afraid. They need a leader. I am Zheng Yi's son, he says, his hand instinctively going to the hilt of his sword. They will follow me. They will follow you into battle, you counter, your voice as sharp and precise as a surgeon's knife. But will they follow you when the rice barrels are empty, when the gunpowder is wet? Will the Black Fleet and the Blue Fleet honour your command when you cannot balance the accounts or negotiate a fair division of spoils? You can hold a sword, Cheng Po, but you cannot hold this confederation together, not alone. You let the truth of it settle in the small room. He is proud, but he is not a fool. He knows you are right. I hold the ledgers, you continue. I hold the loyalty of the supply masters. I know the secrets of every captain in this fleet, for their wealth flows through my hands. I have the mind, you have the sword. Alone, we are a vulnerable widow and a reckless challenger. Together, you lean forward, your eyes locking with his. We are Ching Shih's legacy. We are the Red Flag Fleet. You propose a new command, a joint rule. You will hold the ultimate authority, the final say in strategy, finance and law. You will be the undisputed head. He will be the field commander, the leader of the men, the one who executes the plans. You are offering him immense power, more than he could hope to hold on his own. But you are also asking him to submit to your authority. It is an incredible gamble. He looks at you, his warrior's mind trying to find the angle, the trick. But he sees only cold, hard logic. It is not a plea, it is a business proposition. It is, in its own way, the most modern of political arrangements, a pragmatic alliance for mutual survival and profit. He slowly nods. They will not accept a woman's command. They will, you say with unshakable confidence, when their greatest warrior is standing at her side, enforcing her rule. The deal is struck. You and Chung Po walk from the small room onto the main deck. The senior captains are gathered, their faces grim, expecting a confrontation. They see you emerge, followed by Chung Po. You walk to the center of the deck, and he takes his place not opposite you, but at your right hand, his stance relaxed but ready. The message is unmistakable. You speak, your voice ringing out over the quiet hum of the fleet. You announce Ching Shih's death. You honor his memory, and then you announce the new order. The Red Flag Fleet will continue. Its laws, its systems will remain. The command, however, has changed. You declare yourself the new commander of the Confederation, and you name Chung Po Tsai as the commander of the fleet in battle, second only to you. You have taken a disaster that should have destroyed you and turned it into your coronation. The widow's gambit has paid off. You are no longer the wife of the man in charge. You are the one in charge. With the storm past and your new command structure in place, a fragile peace settles over the Red Flag Fleet. The alliance with Chung Po, born of necessity, proves to be remarkably effective. He is the charismatic warrior, the idol of the common sailors, and his fierce loyalty to you is absolute. He quashes dissent with a sharp word or a sharper blade, leaving you free to focus on the grander strategy. But as you survey your vast floating dominion, you see a fundamental flaw. The fleet is a body, and you are its head, but it has no skeleton. It is held together by a patchwork of customs, fears, and temporary loyalties. It is a confederation of wolves, and you know that wolves, when hungry, will turn on each other. Power, you understand, is not merely seized. It must be codified. It must be written down, made tangible, and woven into the very fabric of daily life until it is as natural and unquestioned as the rising of the sun. The accounting system you built was the first step, controlling the flow of wealth. Now, you must control the flow of everything else: behavior, loyalty, life, and death. You spend the long, quiet nights in your cabin, the ship rocking gently beneath you like a cradle. By the light of a flickering lamp, you draft the constitution of your new nation. You are not writing suggestions. You are forging chains of discipline, and with them, you will bind every pirate in the fleet to your will. When the document is complete, written in your own precise, elegant hand on a scroll of the finest rice paper, you summon the captains. Not just the squadron leaders, but every man who commands a vessel, from the mightiest war junk to the smallest scout ship. They gather on the enormous cleared deck of the flagship, hundreds of them, a rough sea of humanity, their faces weathered, scarred, and skeptical. They murmur amongst themselves, wondering at the reason for this unprecedented assembly. Chung Po stands at your side, his hand resting lightly on the pommel of his sword. His presence is not a threat, but a simple statement of fact. The world has changed. You do not shout. Your voice, when you speak, is calm and clear, yet it carries across the silent deck with an intensity that demands attention. The Red Flag Fleet is the most powerful force on this sea, you begin. But power without discipline is a fire that consumes itself. From this day forward, we are no longer a loose collection of ships. We are an army, and every army has its laws. You unroll the scroll. This is not a debate. It is a declaration. It is a ritual. You begin to read, and a hush falls over the assembly. First, you announce, all plunder, without exception, will be brought to a communal storehouse and registered by clerks under my direct authority. No man is to keep a single coin or grain of rice for himself. To do so is to steal from your brothers. You can almost hear them calculating. This strikes at the very heart of the pirate's creed. Take what you can, keep what you take. You are replacing it with a new creed. The fleet comes first. A small smile touches your lips as you remember Captain Guo's clumsy deceptions. Such theft will now be impossible. From this central treasury, you continue, a new system of distribution will be enforced. For any prize taken, the man who seized it shall receive 20%. The remaining 80% belongs to the public fund. You let that sink in. From this fund, we will repair our ships, buy our powder and shot, feed our families and care for our wounded. A weak ship weakens us all. A hungry crew cannot fight. We will rise or fall together. It is a radical idea, a form of maritime socialism enforced by the sword. It is not about fairness, it is about efficiency. You pause, and your eyes sweep across the crowd, your gaze hardening. Third, we will address the matter of captives. The men shift uneasily. This is a lawless world. You are about to impose law upon its most lawless practice. No woman held captive is to be harmed or mistreated. To do so is a capital crime. All captives will be registered. Those of wealth will be ransomed. Those without, you may petition to take as a wife. But if you do so, it must be with her consent, and you will be bound to her as a husband. You will be faithful. You will protect her. To break this vow is a capital crime. A stunned silence greets this proclamation. In your voice, they do not hear a commander speaking of logistics. They hear a woman speaking from a place of cold, hard memory. You have taken the brutal calculus of your past life and inverted it, forging it into a shield for others. It is the most personal of all your laws, and therefore the one you will enforce with the most unforgiving ferocity. Fourth, you say, your voice dropping, no man shall go ashore without permission. To abandon your post, to desert your ship, is to betray every soul in this fleet. It is an act of treason. You roll the scroll shut. The penalty for breaking any of these cardinal laws, for theft, for harming a captive, for infidelity to a pirate wife, for desertion, is the same. There will be no trials. There will be no arguments. The guilty party will be taken to the flagship and beheaded. The sentence is absolute. The silence that follows is profound. You have just taken their freedom, the one thing a pirate values above all else, and replaced it with a rigid, brutal discipline. You have demanded the obedience of an imperial soldier while offering them only the life of an outlaw. You look at their faces, a mixture of shock, fear, an adorning, grudging respect. Was it justice, or was it simply the ruthless mathematics of control? In the end, it did not matter. What mattered was that it would work. You do not ask for their agreement, you command it. Step forward, you say, your voice leaving no room for refusal, and swear your oath to this code and to me, your commander. One by one, compelled by the weight of your authority and the unwavering presence of Chung Po, they step forward. Each captain places a hand over his heart and swears the oath. It is a public binding, a chain of words that links them all to you and to each other. When the last man has sworn, the fleet is reborn. The change is immediate. The brawls and squabbles over loot vanish. The ships, now supplied from a central, well-managed resource, are better maintained. Under Chung Po's direction, the disciplined crews begin to drill, practicing maneuvers in unison. Soon, the red flag fleet moves across the water, not as a scattered swarm, but as a single, cohesive entity. Hundreds of ships turning and firing as one. It is a terrifying sight. Your law has transformed them. A public execution for a sailor caught hoarding a single bag of silver sends a chillingly effective message throughout the fleet. Your word is now scripture. One evening, you stand on the stern castle, watching the fleet anchor for the night. The ships drop their sails in perfect sequence, their lanterns lit in a precise, orderly pattern across the dark water. The chaos is gone, replaced by a quiet, humming efficiency. You have forged a nation from outcasts, an army from rebels. You have created order on the lawless sea. And every soul in this floating city, from the lowest deckhand to the most celebrated warrior, now answers to you. The rhythm of your life and the life of the fleet settles into a new cadence. It is not all battles and storms. There are long periods of calm, weeks spent at anchor in hidden jungle-fringed coves, where the turquoise water is still, and the Imperial Navy dares not follow. It is in these moments of peace that you come to truly understand the nature of the world you now rule. It is one thing to command an army. It is another entirely to govern a nation. You awaken one morning, not to the call to arms, but to the gentle, almost domestic sounds of your city waking up. The sun is just beginning to pierce the morning mist, casting a soft golden light across the decks. From your cabin window, you hear the rhythmic thump-thump of women grinding rice into flour, the high-pitched laughter of children playing a game of tag on the spacious deck of a cargo junk, and the low murmur of sailors bartering for fresh fruit with a local fisherman who has paddled his canoe out to the fleet. This is the sound of your floating empire at peace. You walk the decks of the flagship, no longer just as a commander inspecting her vessel, but as a ruler observing her domain. The strict code you imposed, born of a need for military discipline, has had a profound and unexpected effect on the social fabric of the fleet. Your law protecting captives and sanctifying pirate marriages has transformed the ships from temporary, violent shelters into multi-generational homes. You see women, some former captives who chose this life, others the long-time wives of tanker pirates, sitting in circles mending sails, their fingers as nimble as any seamstress on land. Their presence has softened the hard edges of this world. You see children everywhere. They are a generation born on the water, true children of the fleet. They have never felt solid, unmoving earth beneath their feet. Their playgrounds are the coiled ropes and stacked cargo nets. Their first lessons are not in writing characters, but in tying knots, reading the weather in the clouds, and learning the names of the constellations that guide them at night. A small smile finds you as you watch a father patiently showing his young daughter how to bait a hook. You have not just built an army, you have fostered a people. When the fleet is at anchor for more than a few days, a unique and vibrant institution emerges: the floating market. It is the heart of your city, a bustling, chaotic, and utterly essential part of daily life. Hundreds of sampans and small skiffs form a network of floating streets and alleyways between the larger junks. You watch the spectacle from your high stern castle, a sprawling, organic marketplace that springs to life each morning. There are boats loaded with produce traded from coastal villages, their decks piled high with bananas, coconuts, and leafy greens. There are butcher boats, where pigs and chickens, kept in bamboo cages, are sold. There is even a floating barber, a wiry old man who sharpens his razor on a leather strop and gives surprisingly neat haircuts for the price of a handful of rice. It's a far cry from the orderly markets of Canton, but it works with its own chaotic logic. Merchants move from ship to ship, their distinctive calls echoing across the water. One sells needles and thread, a precious commodity. Another displays bolts of fine silk and brocade, the spoils of a recent raid, now destined to become a wedding dress for a young pirate couple. Doctors, skilled in herbal remedies and the brutal art of battlefield surgery, paddle between ships, their services paid for in dried fish or a bottle of stolen Portuguese wine. Storytellers gather crowds, their animated tales of dragons and mischievous spirits holding children and adults alike in rapt attention. It was a complete world, born of rebellion, that mirrored the one on shore in almost every way except for the ground beneath its feet. Your role in these quiet times is different. You are less a general and more a matriarch, the final arbiter of all disputes. A sailor might accuse another of cheating in a game of chance, and they will be brought before you, your judgment accepted as final. Two women might argue over the ownership of a cooking pot, and you must deliver a verdict with the gravity of an imperial magistrate. It's an amusing and occasionally exhausting part of your duties. You, who once negotiated your life with the most powerful pirate on the sea, are now settling disputes over poultry. But you understand the importance of it. Justice, even in small things, is the glue that holds this society together. You realize that you have offered these 80,000 souls something the emperor could not: a functioning, predictable world. They are outcasts, runaway peasants fleeing famine, fishermen crushed by taxes, disgraced scholars, and soldiers who deserted a corrupt army. On the shore, they were powerless, forgotten. Here, within the bounds of your strict code, they have a place. They have food, they have protection, and they have a community. They have traded the illusion of freedom on land for the reality of a structured life under your rule. As evening approaches, the market boats return to their mother ships. The hustle and bustle subside, replaced by the warm glow of thousands of cooking fires. The scent of grilled fish, boiling rice, and simmering vegetables drifts on the gentle breeze, a comforting aroma of domesticity. The sounds change too. The sharp calls of the marketplace are replaced by the soft strumming of a pipa, the sound of men singing sea shanties, the murmur of families sharing their evening meal. From a nearby junk, you can clearly hear a mother's voice, soft and sweet, singing a lullaby to a restless child. You stand at the rail, looking out at the city of lights you command. Each light is a home, a family, a story. You did not plan this. Your ambition was for power, for control, for a life beyond the confines of the flower boat. You sought to build an empire of force, but you have accidentally created an empire of souls. The weight of it, the sheer staggering responsibility, settles on you not as a burden, but as a profound and quiet truth. This is more than a fleet. This is the world you have made, and you are its queen. The silence of the night is full, not empty, and for the first time in a long, long time, it feels something like peace. The peace of your hidden coves cannot last. On the mainland, your name is now spoken in hushed, fearful tones, not just in the markets of Canton, but in the gilded halls of the Forbidden City in Beijing. You are no longer a local problem. You are a national disgrace. The emperor, who sits upon the dragon throne, cannot tolerate the existence of a floating kingdom that thumbs its nose at his authority and chokes the flow of his imperial tribute. His fury, you hear from the spies and merchants you cultivate on shore, is immense. He declares you a cancer on the empire and appoints a new man to cut you out, a decorated and famously incorruptible admiral named Kuo Lang. News of Kuo Lang's appointment travels swiftly. He is given a new fleet, built at great expense, and a single, unambiguous mandate: destroy the Red Flag fleet and bring the head of the bandit woman to the capital. You watch from afar as his armada gathers. It is an impressive sight. The imperial war junks are magnificent vessels, their high sterns carved with fearsome dragons, their hulls painted in brilliant reds and golds. They fly banners of imperial silk, and they move with a slow, ponderous grace, a perfect embodiment of the empire they serve, ancient, powerful, and utterly convinced of its own invincibility. It is, you think with a touch of dry humour, a beautiful parade. You gather your own captains in the now familiar setting of your command cabin. The mood is tense. These are men who have fought imperial ships before, but never a commander with Kuo Lang's reputation, nor a fleet of this size. Chung Po stands beside you, his hand resting on a chart of the coastline, his expression grim. They look to you for a plan. You know a direct confrontation would be foolish. Kuo Lang's ships carry heavier cannons, and his men are disciplined soldiers. In a slugging match, ship to ship, you would lose. But you have no intention of fighting his kind of war. He is a dragon, you tell your captains, your voice calm and even. And a dragon is powerful, but it is also heavy, and it is proud. We are not a dragon. We are the sea itself. We are the tide that surrounds him, the mist that blinds him, and the rocks he cannot see beneath the waves. Your strategy is one of refusal. You refuse to give him the grand, glorious battle he craves. When his fleet sails out in its magnificent, rigid formation, you are simply not there. Instead, you unleash your squadrons in a campaign of relentless harassment. You become a ghost. A small force of your fastest ships, under Chung Po's daring command, appears as if from nowhere, captures a handful of Kuo Lang's lumbering supply vessels, and vanishes into a maze of coastal islands before the larger warships can even turn to give chase. Another squadron sets fire to a coastal garrison, known to be resupplying the imperial fleet. You watch Kuo Lang's movements, and you quickly learn his methods. He is a master of the classical texts on warfare, and his tactics are as predictable as they are orthodox. His fleet always sails in a perfect V formation. His commands are always signalled by a loud and elaborate sequence of gongs and drums. He believes in a code of warfare, a certain honour in how battles should be fought. To you, this isn't honour. It's a fatal lack of imagination. It's like playing chess against an opponent who insists on announcing every move 3 turns in advance. You exploit this predictability without mercy. You lay false traps, feigning weakness to lure his advanced squadrons forward, only to have them swarmed by a dozen of your ships that appear from behind a rocky headland. The battles are small, sharp, and always in your favour. You are bleeding him, frustrating him, and more importantly, making him furious. An angry commander is a careless one. His frustration finally boils over. After weeks of being unable to pin you down, his scouts report a large portion of the Red Flag fleet, including your flagship, at anchor in a wide, shallow bay. To Kuo Lang, it is the opportunity he has been dreaming of. He believes he has finally cornered you. He drives his entire fleet forward, sailing directly into the mouth of the bay to trap you against the shore. His gongs beat triumphantly. His banners snap in the wind. He is the dragon, and he has the upstart pirates in his jaws. He does not notice the subtle, gentle pull of the tide. He does not know that your ships, with their flatter bottoms, can navigate these waters with ease, while his heavy, deep-keeled war junks cannot. He does not see the hundreds of your other ships, hidden and waiting silently in the inlets and coves just outside the bay. You have not been cornered. You have set the perfect trap. As his fleet arranges itself for the final glorious assault, the tide turns. The water level begins to drop, slowly, imperceptibly at first, and then with a steady, relentless pull. A collective groan rises from the Imperial fleet as the first of the massive war junks scrapes against the muddy bottom. Then another, and another. Within an hour, his mighty armada is stranded, helpless, its ships tilted at awkward angles, stuck fast in the thick coastal mud. At that moment, the rest of your fleet emerges, a swarm of vessels that takes up positions blocking the mouth of the bay. The triumphant gongs of the Imperial fleet fall silent. The trap is sprung. What follows is not a battle, but a siege. Kuo Lang's magnificent ships are nothing more than floating fortresses, unable to move. Your nimble fleet, still able to navigate the shallower channels, circles them like sharks. You have no need for a bloody assault. You simply wait. Days turn into a week, then two. You cut off all his supplies. You use fire ships, old junks filled with pitch and oil, set alight and drifted into his immobilized fleet to create chaos and fear. Morale on the Imperial ships collapses. Their water runs low. Hunger and disease begin to spread. How terrifying it must be for a predator to realize it has cornered itself with something far more dangerous. The end comes, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Imperial sailors, seeing the order and relative prosperity of your fleet, begin to desert in droves, swimming across the muddy flats under the cover of darkness to surrender. They are welcomed, fed, and offered a place in your ranks. Finally, Kuo Lang, his command dissolving before his eyes, is forced to surrender. You grant him an audience on your flagship. He is a proud man, utterly broken. He expects to be executed. Instead, you offer him tea. You tell him he is free to go. You will allow him to take his 6 remaining ships, the few that did not surrender or were not captured, and return to the capital to report his failure to the Emperor. You know that his life will be over either way. But this way, his humiliation serves as a message. It is a gesture of supreme confidence, an act of psychological warfare more devastating than any cannonball. As his small, tattered squadron limps away, you survey your own fleet, now 60 ships stronger and thousands of men richer. You have not just defeated the Emperor's navy, you have absorbed it. The Dragon Throne sent its best, and you turned him into your recruiting agent. Your power over the South China Sea is now absolute, not just unchallenged, but unchallengeable. Your humiliation of the Dragon Throne creates a power vacuum that nature and politics abhors. The Qing officials in Canton, stripped of their own naval power, are now desperate. Their pleas for another fleet from the Emperor are met with silence and disgrace. Faced with your absolute control over their coast, they do the unthinkable. they turn to the foreigners for help. An official envoy, swallowing centuries of imperial pride, travels to the nearby Portuguese enclave of Macau and formally requests military intervention. They offer trade concessions, silver, anything the Westerners want, if they will only eliminate the pirate queen who haunts their seas. At the same time, your reputation reaches the ears of another group of powerful foreigners, the British East India Company. Your taxes on all shipping have begun to cut deeply into their lucrative trade in tea and opium. A letter arrives on your flagship, delivered under a flag of truce from a sleek, black-hulled British frigate that observes your fleet from a safe distance. The letter is polite, written in the condescending tone of a master addressing a wayward servant, and suggests that your unwarranted interference in free trade should cease. You find it amusing that they consider their business of selling opium to be free trade, while your business of taxing it is piracy. You send no reply. The silence is your answer. The Portuguese are the first to act. One clear morning, a new type of ship appears on the horizon. It is a Portuguese carrack, a floating castle of a vessel, its hull tall and rounded, its masts towering, its sails billowing with the confidence of an empire that has mastered the world's oceans. It is accompanied by several smaller warships, and they move with a disciplined grace. The boom of their cannons, when they fire a warning shot, is deeper and carries further than any you have heard before. They are a symbol of a different kind of power, one born of scientific navigation and industrial might. You learn from captured sailors and informants about the attitude of these new foes. The Portuguese and British officers see your fleet as a joke. They write letters home, which are read aloud in the taverns of Macau, mocking your primitive junks and your female commander. They are professionals, men of science and discipline, facing a rabble of oriental thieves. Their own social customs, their rigid hierarchy, and unshakable belief in their own cultural and technological superiority become their single greatest vulnerability. They cannot imagine a world where their rules of warfare do not apply, and they cannot conceive of you as a strategic equal. This, you know, is a weakness you can exploit far more effectively than any cannon. Their first assault is a textbook display of European naval doctrine. A single Portuguese warship, confident in its superior firepower, sails directly toward a squadron of your junks, expecting them to scatter. You have given your captains new orders. They do not scatter. Instead, they embrace the role of the swarm. At your signal, 24 junks converge on the single, larger vessel. The Portuguese cannons roar, tearing great holes in 2 of your ships, which sink in moments. But the attack is relentless. The other junks press forward through the smoke. They cannot match the cannons, so they render them irrelevant. Your men throw grappling hooks, and the junks slam against the carrack's hull. The battle ceases to be a naval engagement and becomes a ground war. Hundreds of your pirates, screaming and brandishing swords, swarm up the sides of the tall ship, climbing the rigging, pouring over the rails. The Portuguese crew, trained for orderly cannon volleys, are overwhelmed by the sheer, chaotic ferocity of the assault. Within an hour, their proud flag is torn down, and your red one is hoisted in its place. You have lost 2 ships, but you have gained a far superior one, along with its powerful cannons and a valuable lesson in how to defeat these new enemies. You adapt your strategy. You know you cannot win a war of technology, so you change the battlefield. You use your smaller, faster ships to lure the deeper drafted European vessels into the treacherous, shallow waters of the Pearl River Delta, a maze of shifting sandbars and hidden channels that only your pilots know. The Westerners' advanced navigational charts are useless here. Time and again, their pursuing ships run aground, becoming easy targets for your waiting forces. The humiliated Portuguese and their desperate Qing allies decide on one final, grand offensive. With the unofficial support and intelligence of the British, they assemble a joint fleet to blockade you in Tungchung Bay on Lantau Island. It is a massive force, and as they seal the mouth of the bay, their commanders celebrate. They believe they have finally trapped the she-devil and her fleet. They have learned nothing from Kuo Lang's failure. To them, history is something that happens to other people. For more than a week, you remain in the bay, allowing the blockade to tighten. You make a few feeble-looking attempts to break out, all of which are easily repulsed. The Allied commanders become complacent. They believe your surrender is only a matter of time. They do not see the frantic, around-the-clock activity within your fleet. They do not see the preparations being made, not for a surrender, but for an inferno. On the 9th night, the wind and the tide are in your favour. You give the signal. A new fleet emerges from the heart of your own, sailing silently toward the enemy line. It is your ghost fleet, a collection of old junks and captured boats, their decks piled high with dry straw, their holds packed with gunpowder and oil. These are your fire ships, a weapon as old as naval warfare itself. But you have refined them. They are not merely burning vessels. They are massive, floating bombs. As they approach the blockading fleet, their skeleton crews light the fuses, lash the helms, and slip away into the darkness on small rafts. The ghost fleet sails on. The Allied watchmen cry out in alarm, but it is too late. The first fireship slams into a Portuguese vessel, and the resulting explosion is catastrophic, a blossoming flower of fire and splintered wood that lights up the night sky. Then another hits, and another. The tightly packed formation of the blockading fleet becomes its death trap. Fire leaps from ship to ship. Panic and chaos replace disciplined order. As the enemy line fractures, a path now cleared by flame and terror, you give the second signal. The main body of the Red Flag fleet, with Chung Po's flagship at the fore, sails out of the bay. You do not flee. You attack. You smash into the disorganized, burning remnants of the Allied fleet. The battle is a rout. The hunters have become the hunted. You watch the destruction from the deck of your flagship, the night air hot on your face from the distant fires. The pride of two empires is burning before you. What is superior technology after all, when faced with a superior mind? By dawn, the battle is over. You have captured more ships, more cannons, and more men. The Portuguese-Qing alliance is shattered. The British observers limp back to their trading posts with a terrifying new story to tell. The news will travel on the trade winds, from Macau to Lisbon, from Canton to London. You have defeated the Dragon Throne, and now you have defied the Western cannons. Your name is no longer just a legend in China. It is a whisper of fear and wonder across the oceans of the world. The fires of your victory over the Western cannons burn out, leaving behind a new world order written in ash and fear. There are no more challenges. The Imperial Navy cowers in its harbours, its admirals stripped of their command, its sailors refusing to serve. The Portuguese in Macau are silent, licking their wounds. The British, ever the pragmatists, now see you not as a nuisance to be swatted, but as a sovereign power to be negotiated with. Their ships approach your fleet under flags of truce, their captains offering gifts and polite inquiries about the fees for safe passage. The South China Sea, from the Strait of Malacca to the coast of Taiwan, is now your personal lake. Your power is no longer just the power to destroy, it is the power to permit. You have become the gatekeeper of all commerce, and you decide to formalize the arrangement. From your command cabin, which has evolved into the administrative heart of a maritime state, you issue a new decree. You establish a system of passports. Any vessel wishing to sail in your waters, be it a Cantonese merchant junk laden with silk, a Portuguese carrack carrying spices, or a simple fishing boat, must first purchase a certificate of passage. Each certificate is printed from a carved wooden block, bearing the seal of the Red Flag Fleet and your authority. Without it, a ship is considered a legitimate prize. With it, it is under your protection. It is a breathtakingly audacious system, the very definition of a state. You are no longer simply plundering. You are taxing. You have created an imperial customs service whose authority is far more real and immediate than the emperor's. Your clerks, some of them educated men who fled the mainland, keep meticulous records. Every ship, its cargo, its destination, and the fee it paid is logged in your ledgers. It is, you reflect with no small amount of irony, the most honest and efficient government body in all of southern China. A day in your life now is less that of a pirate and more that of a monarch. The mornings are for reports. Your squadron commanders, patrolling their designated sectors of the coast, send messages via swift dispatch boats, reporting on ship movements, weather patterns, and any unusual activity. You review the tribute rolls, the steady stream of silver, rice, and goods that flows into your central treasury, the lifeblood of your nation. The afternoons are for audiences. An emissary from a coastal village arrives to petition for a lower tax, arguing a poor fishing season. You listen patiently, consult your records of the region's productivity, and deliver a judgment that is firm but fair. You grant them a small reduction, and in return, you demand better intelligence on the movements of a local mandarin. You discover a surprising evolution in your relationship with the mainland. The villages and towns you once terrorized now find your rule to be a strange sort of blessing. The local imperial officials were corrupt, their demands for taxes unpredictable and ruinous. They offered no protection from bandits or rival clans. Your rule, by contrast, is brutally simple and reliable. You demand your tribute, but the price is fixed. In exchange, you offer genuine security. No other pirates dare to operate in your waters, and you have been known to wipe out land-based bandits who threaten a village that is under your protection. Many communities become your willing partners. They are your supply depots, your repair yards, your information brokers. Their loyalty, bought with a combination of fear and practical benefit, is more real than any allegiance they hold for a distant emperor in a faraway city. Your court grows. Chung Po remains your unquestioned military commander, the enforcer of your will, his loyalty a bedrock on which your throne is built. But you now surround yourself with other advisors. A disgraced scholar, his dreams of an official career ruined by court politics, now serves as your chief scribe, his elegant calligraphy gracing your decrees. A shrewd merchant who lost his fortune to a corrupt official now manages your vast supply chain with ruthless efficiency. You have gathered the outcasts and the malcontents, the brilliant and the broken, and given them a purpose within your new world. From the deck of your flagship, you can look out and see the emblems of your power everywhere. Your red flag does not just fly from the masts of your warships, but from the gates of coastal towns and the flagpoles of merchant guilds. The flow of goods along the coast, salt, rice, silk, opium, all of it moves at your command. You have your hand on the throat of the Chinese economy, and you can squeeze whenever you wish. You recall your former life on the Pearl River, a life spent in a single, ornate boat at the mercy of wealthy patrons. Now, those same patrons, or their sons, pay tribute to you for the privilege of doing business. As you handle a bar of pure silver, stamped with the mark of a Canton merchant you dimly remember, You ponder the thin line between governance and extortion. Was there truly a difference between a tax collected by an emperor and a tribute demanded by a queen, if both were ultimately paid at the point of a sword? You have achieved the pinnacle. You are wealthy beyond measure, powerful beyond imagining. You are feared, you're respected, and you are obeyed. But as you stand on the stern castle watching another perfect blood-orange sunset paint the sky, a strange feeling begins to creep in. It is not fear, and it is not regret. It is a profound sense of weariness. The great battles are over. The thrill of the gamble, the life or death struggle for power, has been replaced by the monotonous, grinding work of administration. Your life is an endless series of logistical problems, personnel disputes, and economic forecasts. You have won the war, and now you must rule the peace. The weight of it is immense. Every decision you make affects the lives of 80,000 souls. The constant vigilance required to maintain control over such a vast and volatile enterprise is exhausting. You look out at the endless expanse of the sea, the very symbol of your freedom, and for the first time, it begins to feel like the walls of a very large, very well-appointed office. You are the mistress of it all, and yet, are you truly free? The peak is a glorious place to be, but it is also a lonely one, and there is nowhere left to climb. The only question that remains is what the long descent will look like. The days at the zenith of your power bleed one into the next. A long, golden afternoon of unchallenged authority. You are the sun in your own sky, and every ship on the sea is a planet that moves in an orbit dictated by your will. But you, more than anyone, know that the sun must also set. The constant effort of holding this vast, violent world together begins to take its toll. The weariness you feel is a quiet, secret thing, a subtle change in the tides of your own spirit. You have won the game, and you are beginning to wonder if there is a way to simply walk away from the board with your winnings. On the mainland, the Emperor's court has reached the final stage of grief. Acceptance. They accept that they cannot defeat you. The failure of their navies, and then of their Western allies, has been a profound and public humiliation. A new man is appointed Governor-General of the two Guangs, a man named Bai Ling. He is not a soldier, but a scholar and a statesman, a pragmatist known for his clever, unorthodox solutions. He sees the truth that his predecessors could not. You are not a wound on the body of the empire to be cauterized, but a rival kingdom to be treated with. He petitions the emperor, not for more ships and cannons, but for a brush, ink, and the authority to write a new story. One morning, a single unfamiliar ship is sighted, approaching your fleet under a white banner of truce. It is an imperial dispatch junk, but it flies the personal standard of the Governor-General himself. It does not bristle with soldiers. Its decks are clear save for a small party of men in the fine silk robes of court officials. Your fleet lets it pass, your ships parting to create a silent, watchful corridor. It is an unprecedented sight, a symbol of a world turned upside down. The Empire is coming to you, not with swords, but with words. An envoy requests permission to board your flagship. You grant it. The man who steps onto your deck is not a cowering subordinate, but a calm, dignified courtier, his face a mask of polite neutrality. He and his retinue bow deeply. He does not address you as a pirate or a bandit. He addresses you by your formal name, Zheng Yi Sao, with the respect due to a duchess. This entire meeting, you realize, is a carefully choreographed piece of political theatre, designed to allow the empire to negotiate without losing what little face it has left. It's a performance you appreciate for its subtlety. He does not speak of surrender. He speaks of the emperor's boundless benevolence, his sorrow at the long years of conflict, and his paternal desire to welcome his estranged subjects back into the harmonious fold of the empire. After a long, flowery preamble, he presents his purpose: a heavy scroll of yellow silk, bound with a ribbon and sealed with the Governor-General's personal seal in red wax. It is an official offer of amnesty. Later, in the quiet of your cabin, you unroll the scroll. The elegant black characters are a testament to the new reality. It is not the offer a victor makes to the vanquished. It is a treaty offered between equals. A full and complete pardon is offered to every man, woman, and child in the Pirate Confederation. They will be allowed to come ashore and keep a substantial portion of their wealth. The men will be given the option to join the provincial army or take up positions in the lower rungs of the civil bureaucracy. There is no mention of punishment, only of reintegration. It is a golden bridge, a path back to a world you thought you had left forever. The offer lands on the fertile ground of your own private weariness. You look around your cabin at the charts of the coast you command, at the ledgers detailing a fortune beyond reckoning. You have everything a pirate could ever dream of. But this scroll offers the one thing you do not have: an ending, a way to stop, a future for your people that does not involve constant grinding warfare, a life for yourself beyond the unending vigilance of command. But you know this decision is not yours alone to make. The Confederation is a fragile alliance of ambitious captains, and peace is a language many of them do not speak. You summon the commanders of all 6 fleets. They assemble in your main cabin, a tense gathering of the most powerful outlaws in the world. The fiery commander of the Black Flag Fleet, the cunning old captain of the Blue, the stoic leader of the White. Chung Po stands at your side, his face unreadable. You lay the imperial scroll on the table. You state the terms, your voice even and calm. The reaction is immediate and volcanic. Amnesty, bellows the Black Flag commander, his face turning a deep red. It is an insult. We are the masters of the sea. We defeated their fleets. We burned their allies. And now we are to crawl back to shore and beg for their forgiveness. He spits on the deck. It is a trick. The moment we are unarmed, they will slaughter us all. His sentiment is echoed around the table. These are men who have built their identities on rebellion. The idea of rejoining the society that cast them out is not just frightening, it is offensive. They are wolves, and you are asking them to put on a collar and learn to be sheepdogs. You let their anger wash over the room, letting the storm break. When it subsides into a sullen silence, you speak. You speak of tricks, you say, your voice cutting through the tension. Was it a trick when we defeated Kuo Lang? Was it a trick when we burned the Western ships? We have outsmarted them at every turn. Why do you assume we have suddenly become fools? You lean forward. Look beyond your pride. What is our future? We win, and we keep winning. But the empire is endless. They can always build more ships, train more soldiers. We live and die on the water. Is this the life you want for your sons? And for their sons? A perpetual war with no end in sight? You gesture to the scroll. This is not a surrender. This is a victory. This is the prize we have been fighting for all along. The right to walk away from the fight on our own terms, with our heads held high and our pockets full. But your words fall on deaf ears. You see it in their hard, defiant eyes. They have become so defined by the struggle that they cannot imagine a life without it. How do you explain to an army of lions, born for the hunt, that the wisest course of action is to simply walk away from the kill? The council is deadlocked. The Black Flag and its allies are vehemently opposed, viewing the offer as a betrayal and you as a coward for even considering it. Your own Red Flag captains and Chung Po are loyal to you, but they are deeply divided and troubled. Peace has, with a terrible irony, shattered the unity of your command. The Confederation is on the brink of a civil war, not against the Empire, but against itself. You dismiss them, the anger and suspicion hanging heavy in the air. The Imperial Scroll remains on the table, a silent testament to a future that seems impossible to grasp. You realize that you cannot win this argument with words. The pirate commanders understand power, risk, and audacious action. To convince them and to secure the future you now see so clearly, you cannot simply preside over a debate. You must make a move so bold, so unexpected, that it will force all of them to follow your lead. As the last captain leaves your cabin, your mind is already turning, formulating the details of your final, most dangerous gambit. The stalemate in your council festers. The amnesty offer a poison that paralyzes the fleet. The commanders retreat to their own flagships, the Confederation fracturing into suspicious, resentful factions. The Black Flag commander begins to openly speak of breaking away, of taking his ships and continuing the war on his own terms. You are on the verge of the one conflict you cannot win, a war against yourself. You know that words and arguments are now useless. The time has come for an act so audacious, so contrary to the logic of war, that it will shatter the deadlock and redefine the terms of the entire conflict. You make your decision in the quiet solitude of your cabin, with the Imperial Scroll lying open on your table. You will not send a message to the Governor General. You will be the message. You summon Chung Po. When you tell him your plan, his face drains of color. He believes you have lost your mind. Go to Canton, he whispers, his voice tight with disbelief. Alone? Unarmed? It's a trap. They will put your head on a spike above the city gates before you even reach the inner courtyard. He pleads with you to let him take 1,000 of your most loyal warriors, to storm the city and negotiate from a position of strength. You place a hand on his arm, your touch calm and steady. If I go with 1,000 men, I am a warlord demanding terms. They will meet me with 1,000 soldiers, and we will have the battle we are trying to avoid. You meet his worried gaze. But if I go alone as a woman, I am not a threat. I am a petitioner. I am a political problem they cannot solve with a sword. This is not a battle of steel, Chung. It is a battle of wits and courage, and it is one I must fight myself. You leave him in command of the fleet with a simple instruction. Hold them together and wait for your signal. You board a small, unremarkable junk, stripped of any pirate markings. You do not wear the silks of a commander, but the simple, respectable robes of a wealthy merchant's wife. Your only companions are a dozen other women from the fleet and their young children. Your entourage is not an honor guard. It is a statement. You are coming in peace, with the symbols of family and future, not war and destruction. After years at sea, the feeling of solid ground beneath your feet as you step onto the docks of Canton is a dizzying sensation. The city is a chaotic assault on the senses. The thick, humid air, rich with the smells of cooking fires, night soil, and exotic spices. The cacophony of thousands of voices, of cartwheels clattering on stone, of merchants hawking their wares. You pull a simple scarf over your head, and you melt into the crowd. You, the queen who brought this very city to its knees, walk its streets as an anonymous woman. It is a powerful, surreal journey back to the world that birthed you. You see the great trading houses, the opulent homes of the merchants who once frequented the flower boats. and you feel the immense, silent arc of your own life. You arrive at the imposing gates of the Governor-General's Yamen, the sprawling official residence and administrative centre. The Imperial Guards, armed with polearms and a profound sense of their own importance, move to block your small, unassuming party. Their expressions are a mixture of confusion and annoyance. They see only a group of women who have clearly lost their way. You do not announce yourself as the commander of the Red Flag Fleet. You simply state, in a calm, clear voice, that you are Zheng Yisao, and you have come to have a formal audience with His Excellency, Governor-General Bai Ling. You have masterfully invoked the custom of Bai Gian, a formal visit that, by the intricate rules of official etiquette, cannot be lightly dismissed. The guards are stunned into silence. The name is infamous, but the presentation is utterly disarming. Panic ripples through the gatehouse. A junior officer scurries inside, his face pale. The news of your arrival throws the entire government complex into chaos. Officials run through the corridors, terrified and astounded. The most wanted criminal in the empire is standing at their front door, asking politely to be let in. To arrest you would be a breach of protocol. You have come peacefully, as a petitioner. To turn you away would be an admission of fear. To let you in seems like madness. Was it the act of a madwoman, or the calculated gambit of a master who knew the game better than anyone else? Only Governor-General Bai Ling understands. He sees the genius of your move. You have not challenged his power. You have placed yourself at his mercy, a gesture of respect that, paradoxically, gives you all the control. He sees the trap you have laid for him, not a military trap, but a political one. He gives the quiet, history-making order. Open the gates. Treat her as an honoured guest. You are led through hushed, ornate courtyards, the eyes of every official and servant following your every move. You enter the main audience hall, a vast columned room where the air is thick with the scent of sandalwood incense. You are alone now, your small retinue left behind. You stand, a single unarmed woman, on the polished floor before the raised dais where the Governor-General sits, flanked by his highest advisors. The silence in the room is absolute, a held breath stretching for an eternity. Bai Ling, a man in his late 50s with the calm, intelligent eyes of a scholar, descends from his dais. This too is a gesture. He will not speak down to you. He offers you a seat, and a servant brings tea. The negotiation begins not as an interrogation, but as a civilized conversation. Your Excellency, you begin, your voice steady. Your offer of amnesty was wise and generous, but it will fail. Bai Ling raises an eyebrow. And why is that? Because you have offered my commanders a pardon, you explain. But you have not offered them a victory. They are proud men. They cannot be seen to crawl ashore with their hats in their hands. You must give them a way to preserve their honour. You then lay out your audacious proposal. The amnesty should be reframed. The pirates will not surrender. They will be restructured. You propose that the Emperor's government actively recruit your pirate fleet, offering the commanders positions as officers in the Imperial Navy. Their first task? To hunt down and destroy any remaining pirates, like the Black Flag commander, who refuse to accept the amnesty. You are, in effect, offering to solve the government's entire piracy problem for them, using their own money. You also negotiate for a full pardon, the right to keep your personal wealth, and a quiet, noble title for yourself. You are not just negotiating a surrender, you are planning your retirement. Bai Ling stares at you, a slow smile of pure admiration spreading across his face. He is a statesman, and he recognizes the work of another. You have not just brought him a problem. You have brought him an elegant, face-saving solution for everyone involved. Your men get to keep their pride, their skills, and their ships. The Emperor gets to declare a total victory over the pirates, brought about by his own benevolent wisdom. And you? You get peace. He agrees. He agrees to everything. You rise, the teacup still warm in your hands. The deal is done. You walk out of the audience hall, the Governor-General himself escorting you to the door. The officials, who hours ago saw a bandit, now bow to you as you pass. You have won your final and greatest battle, not with cannons and ships, but with unimaginable courage and a deep understanding of the human heart. As you step back into the bright, noisy streets of Canton, you are no longer a pirate queen. You are the architect of a lasting peace, a noblewoman of the Qing Empire, and a legend. You return to the fleet, not as a gambler who has risked it all, but as a sovereign who has signed a treaty. You sail back not in a nondescript junk, but on an imperial vessel provided by the Governor-General himself, a clear signal to all who watch that the rules of the game have irrevocably changed. When you present the new terms to the pirate commanders, the effect is profound. This is not the surrender they feared, but the victory they craved, simply in a form they had never imagined. You have offered them a future. They can keep their wealth. They will be granted titles and positions. And most brilliantly, they can keep their pride. They are not laying down their arms in shame. They are being recruited by the Empire to become its new coastal guard. Their first mission, as officers of the Qing Navy, is to eliminate the last vestiges of piracy on the coast. The Black Flag commander, who so vehemently opposed the peace, has in his stubbornness become the last enemy. He is no longer a rival pirate. He is now a rebel, an outlaw to both the Empire and the new order you have created. The transition is swift and ruthlessly effective. Chung Po, now holding an official commission from the Emperor, takes command of the newly formed squadron. It is a surreal sight. Hundreds of ships, their red flags now replaced by the imperial dragon banner, sailing under the command of the man who was once the Empire's most wanted pirate. They hunt down the Black Flag fleet with an intimacy and knowledge of pirate tactics that no imperial admiral ever possessed. The final battle is short, brutal, and decisive. The old way of life dies, and your new peace is sealed in its blood. Then comes the great homecoming. In a slow, orderly procession that lasts for weeks, the Pirate Confederation disbands. 80,000 people come ashore. They are a strange and vibrant addition to the coastal towns. Men with the rolling gait of the sea, women who know how to mend a sail as well as they do a shirt, and children who marvel at things like horses and trees. The vast floating city you commanded for years dissolves, its citizens reabsorbed into the land, their ships sold or converted to peaceful trade. The South China Sea, for the first time in a generation, is quiet. Chung Po is given a comfortable post in the provincial bureaucracy, a common practice for neutralizing a powerful figure without disposing of them. It is a form of honorable exile, a gilded cage where his ambition can do no harm. He performs his duties well, a respected official, though there is always a restlessness in his eyes, a memory of the open water that the solid ground can never erase. And you retire. You, the woman who commanded the largest pirate fleet in history, who humbled 3 empires, simply stop. You settle in Canton, the city of your youth, but you do not live in hiding. You are a figure of immense wealth, high status, and considerable legend. With your vast pardoned fortune, you could buy a quiet country estate and fade into obscurity. Instead, In a final act of spectacular poetic irony, you open a gambling house. It becomes the largest and most popular establishment in the city. You, who gambled for the highest stakes a person could, for life, for power, for a kingdom, now preside over a world of smaller risks. Men come to your tables to wager their silver on the turn of a card or the roll of the dice. You watch them, your expression serene and knowing. You understand the thrill they are chasing, but you also know better than anyone that in the end, the house always wins. The skills required to run a successful gambling den, you find, are not so different from those needed to run a pirate empire. A keen understanding of human nature, a mastery of logistics, and the ability to calculate odds in the blink of an eye. Your days fall into a gentle, peaceful rhythm. You wake in a soft bed, in a quiet, elegant house surrounded by a walled garden. You drink the finest tea, wear robes of the softest silk, and feel the cool weight of jade against your skin. The roar of the cannon and the scream of the typhoon are replaced by the soft chatter of patrons and the click of mahjong tiles. You become a fixture in the city, a respected and quietly feared matriarch. People whisper your story as you pass, the legend of the prostitute who became a queen. Years turn into decades. Your dark hair turns to silver. The lines on your face map the long, incredible voyage you have taken. You are a grandmother now, and you watch your grandchildren play amongst the flowers in your garden. Children who will never know the taste of salt spray or the creak of a ship's timbers in a heavy sea. Sometimes, on a quiet night, when the wind blows in from the Pearl River Delta, you close your eyes. You can almost feel the gentle rocking of a deck beneath your feet. You can almost smell the tar and the gunpowder. The memories are there, not as ghosts that haunt you, but as a silent, epic story that belongs to you alone. You have come full circle, from the water to the land, from a floating cage of pleasure to a grounded mansion of peace. And who is to say which life was the more real? The roar of the cannon, or the quiet click of mahjong tiles on a peaceful afternoon? You lived more lives than a dozen ordinary people, and you ended your story on your own terms. You, Shi Yang, Zheng Yi So, the pirate queen, die peacefully in your bed at the age of 69, a prosperous, respected, and impossibly successful woman. Your great voyage has, at last, come to its final quiet harbour. And so, our journey ends, not with the crash of a wave, but with the softest of whispers. The story of the pirate queen fades back into the mists of history, a paradox of power and peace, of a life lived against all odds, now settling into a deep and well-earned rest. The lanterns of her gambling house flicker and go out, and the once turbulent sea of her life becomes as calm and still as a moonlit pond. Let the echo of her incredible story be a gentle lullaby, a reminder that even the greatest of storms must eventually give way to a quiet and peaceful dawn. Close your eyes now, and let the tide of sleep carry you gently away to your own safe harbour. Let the silence be your comfort, and let your dreams be calm. Rest now. Sleep now.